On a battlefield, a giant monster approaches soldiers, and a paladin tells his partner the legend of Ars about ancient gods creating monsters to devour the world. The soldier shoots a spear at the monster, which eventually comes out unharmed. The paladin decides to help the soldiers, but warns him that the Empire hasn't paid them. The paladin activates his power, Anthrovintia, and freezes the monster, causing the soldiers to celebrate. The monster manages to free himself, but the paladin kills it. 30 years later, Kiris checks on Kumi, a prototype, and she blows away the door, knocking him down. She escapes to the kitchen, grabs food, and runs away. Kiris reports to his commander that the prototype has escaped and is cornered, but Kumi jumps into the water. She swims to the docks and climbs a boat with guard Juru, who asks if he has seen a girl. Kumi meets a woman in town who introduces her as Kumi the Spunky. Kumi offers to pay her, but the woman doesn't reply. She takes Kumi home to help her. Kiris and Gun report to their commander Mazami that they haven't captured the prototype. Mazami orders them to use all their resources to find her. Kumi gives the girl a new dress, thanks her, and leaves happily. In the morning, Juru walks around town. Maya, a young girl, sees him and wonders if he is a giant beast hunter. Juru confirms and wonders if she knows where he can get some job. Maya tells him that a group of hunters will be leaving afternoon from the eastern gate. Maya finds her a place and opens her stall. Soon Kumi comes looking at the goods that Maya sells, and Maya tells her the item she is looking is a gem from a giant beast, Gladian. Kumi, interested in the goods Maya sells, asks her to buy a ring of promise, which Maya reveals is a cursed ring that drains the life of anyone who wears it. A soldier at the eastern gate collects the names of the hunters, and Juru is given the name Juru the Already Dead. Olam the Lightning laughs at his nickname, but Olam and Gonk the Stonecutter assure him that their job is to lure the beast and herd it towards the wall. The Empire wants to unify Ars, and Tsurigi explains that this year there is a rise of giant beasts, so it's better not to split their forces. Another person dismisses her worries, stating that the barbarians are also under attack by giant beasts. After a meeting with Sharuto, Tsurigi is angry as their emperor doesn't understand the casualties their people will suffer. A boar-like giant beast appears, using its tentacles to dig the ground and eat minerals. The men find it and Olam lure it toward the wall, but the beast injures him. Juru jumps down and saves him before it kills him. The rest of the hunters shoot and kill the beast. Later, the hunters celebrate in a bar, and Olam thanks Juru for saving his life, stating he should be the Lighting and Olam should be the Already Dead. Mazami visits Juru, who reminds him of a paladin. He explains that giant beasts are not humanity's true enemies, and that a war will split ours into two factions. Jiro leaves, while Maya offers Kumi a place for the night. Soldiers arrive, recognize Kumi, and chase her. As they shoot arrows at Kumi, a black mist comes out of her wounds, turning them to black ash. Kumi turns bright orange, and a headless, humanoid giant beast approaches the city. Jiro hears the tremors and sees the shining Kumi at the docks, reminding him of his past and Toka. Jiro saves Kumi, turns her normal, and jumps with her into the water. Underwater, he kisses her forehead, which shines. They find themselves in a new place, and Jiro introduces himself as Jiro the Already Dead. Kumi, known as 22, tells him to call her Kumi the 22nd. Jiro wonders what a cleric like her is doing without a paladin escort, but he states they can talk later. Jiro summons his spear, and Maya observes them, promising that the promise will be fulfilled. The beast attacked the town, and Jiro and Kumi combined to fight it. Jiro fought the beast, but it captured him and regenerated its mission head. Kumi suggested its eye as a weak point, and Jiro trusted her and attacked its eye. His spear went through the beast's eye, killing it. Jiro fell unconscious, and Maya offered them a place to treat their wounds for free. Mizami discovered a place where Kumi started to shine, and people turned to dust upon contact with her black fog. This miasma can summon beasts and drive them mad. Mizami found 22 successful, and Kiris told him that a paladin took her away. Gun also reported that the paladins eliminated the beast. Mizami is sure the paladins did not come unharmed, and they still must be in town. The townspeople are happy about the giant beast, as they haven't seen one for decades. They perform a rite that they haven't performed since 30 years ago, but a soldier reports no reports matching the paladin's appearance. 5 years ago, Jiro was trying to revive his dead cleric, Toka, but failed. As giant beasts surround them, he is told to leave her and go, as he can easily replace her. Jiru wakes up and overhears Kyumi and Maya discussing the ritual of hugging and kissing Kyumi's forehead, which Maya believes symbolizes marriage. However, Jiru explains that this was just a covenant ritual and that they have formidable power but can lose control and release a miasma. Paladins come to channel and control a cleric's power, but they are now used only as tools to hunt giant beasts. Zen visits Kyumi Katsu, who tells him that the beast they took down before had red eyes. Kyumi wonders if this is the start of an old legend. Zen states that the red eyes warrant a report to the upper echelon. They go into a tavern, where Kyumi recognizes her and tells her she is fine. Kyumi realizes Maya is a chapeau and wonders if she is a friend of Kyumi, but Maya states it is more of a hostage. Kiris and Gun enter the tavern after receiving information about a fugitive. Kyumi Katsu stands up against the soldiers, but Kyumi releases the miasma and rots away. Maya hits Kyumi on the head, knocking her down and stating they are giving up. The soldiers quickly arrested them. Kiris and Gun report to Mizami that they captured the girl, but lost a soldier. Mizami tells them to count his death as part of the giant beast attack on his family's pension. He notes that his death is unfortunate, but well worth the sacrifice, and he tells them to make arrangements as he will be departing this evening. Jiru cleans his boat and takes a rest, but realizes his spear is missing. Maya explains that the plan would be ruined if Jiru only took his spear. As Jiru tries to summon it, it lifts her, and Maya realizes he is missing his spear. Jiru returns to Maya's camp and finds Kyumi and Maya, who are taken by Imperial forces. Kyumi offers him fruits and leaves, which Jiru recognizes as lab girls. As Mizami's ship prepares to leave, Jiru finds them and learns their location from a guard. He beats up more guards and tells the girls to hurry up. Mizami and the others learn of Kyumi's escape thanks to Jiru. Jiru and the girls get surrounded, and Jiru instructs them to hold on to his spear and swim towards his boat. Maya is excited about his Imperial-made ship, and Jiru sees them notice his boat. They plan to buy them time while Maya prepares them for a launch. Kyumi prepares for a kiss, but Jiru states it is a one-time ritual. After piercing Mizami's ship with his spear, Maya tells Jiru that the Empire will pursue him like them. Jiru is annoyed that they involved him in this, but he will tag along until they reach the next city. Kiris and Gun thinks they'll be fired after a series of failures, but Mizami isn't mad, and he wants them to follow him back to the lab. On their way, they stumble into a giant aquatic beast. They are not scared because only the land animals are somehow hostile towards humans. Jiru's side enters the village of the Rhynthropes. Theirs looks exactly like Maya, but is only a dog version. They weirdly communicate before all the suspicious Rhynthropes welcome them. Jiru, being a sourpuss, doesn't want those happy kids around him. They meet some of the few villagers. Deagle, who is the village's strongest warrior. Melon, the budding swordsman but a greenhorn. And little innocent Tilly. They learn that many Rhynthropes aren't related to each other by blood, but take care of each other like their own. Meanwhile, Deagle and his men are fighting giant beasts, but then stumble into one with red eyes. Deagle returns to warn the village about this, but it looks like Tilly is missing. She pops up with Melan's sword and gives it to Kyumi in hopes she won't be sad. The chief apologizes for this rude behavior as he explains that Tilly is a special child who can read minds. Hence, she must have misread Kyumi's mind about wanting friends. But now Melon is missing because he went to search for Tilly. He is running away from the red eyes, but thankfully, he is saved by Jiru. Jiru can't get close because of the long-range attacks, so the only way is to combine. They easily take it down. Jiru doesn't want their cover busted or made easier to track. He warns Melon, who has witnessed everything, to forget everything he sees, or else he is dead. Later, when Deagle investigates this, he knows Jiru has done something. Melon cannot say, so Deagle understands. But since Jiru saved his life, he must return the favor. Jiru plans to escape the village, but the incessant rain has flooded and blocked the exit, so they return to the village, and everybody welcomes them back as heroes. Jiru wins big at gambling. Enough to treat Kyumi and Maya to some food, until Romana waltzes in and wants to play a game. Buoyed with confidence, Jiru agrees. He lost everything, and he ended up in debt too. The gambler's spirit says one more round, but Romana will not play until he clears his debt. How about betting on Kyumi? Instead, Jiru bets on his prized spear. Later, it is revealed that Romana thought Jiru was a slave trader and wanted to save Kumi. But even with this misunderstanding cleared, she still won't give back the spear since she rightfully won it. Then news came in that the flood was going to sink the village. Everyone is expected to evacuate to higher ground. The destroyed village can be built again. Lives take more priority. Along the way, Deagle fights a giant beast. Deagle gets injured, and so it's a job for Jiru. Romana lends the spear to him to do his job. Jiru plans to throw it back into the water since the flood must have agitated it. But along the way, the beast started to have red eyes. Meanwhile, as Romana patches up Deagle, the latter asks Kumi about her parents, and she answers that she doesn't have any. Deagle believes Melon is the same as her, but he is too naive as a hunter. He thinks Melon should tag along with them. Romana could guess Jiru is a paladin, and before she could reveal Kumi's nature, Deagle fakes some poisoning and has Kumi get some medicine from Jiru. Deagle is trying to tell Romana, who seems to believe there are no good paladins on the battlefield because of her work as a medic. Many would die recklessly in battle. Deagle believes Jiru is different. Kumi actually goes to ask Melon for the medicine. With the combined power of Jiru and Kumi, they easily defeat the beast. The next day, when the flood has stopped, Jiru and others leave, and Romana is tagging along since she needs a bodyguard from the giant beasts. Melon is tagging along too, because, as per Deagle's request, there is much to learn from him. Kiris and Gun have been demoted to guard a cleric producing experimental facility. Kiris complains about this demotion having an impact on his salary, so Gun suggests joining Mazami's elite forces. However, he soon rubbishes that idea because he hears rumors that those who do will take drugs and no longer become humans. Jiru's team is on their way to the next village when they are stopped by Zen. He is Melon's ex-master. Hearing where they are going next, he writes them a recommendation letter since that place has lots of mountain dwellers. Jiru hasn't got too fond of a memory of that place, especially fighting against their boss. Upon reaching, Maya makes some weird communication with her fellow chapeau before handing the letter. When the Mad Max orc warrior boss, Babin, sees Jiru's name on it, everyone starts chanting his name to come out. As Babin welcomes everyone, it seems part of the welcoming party is a test of strength in which Jiru must participate. Jiru easily dispatches the first few mountain dwellers, and even some take on him as a group. The rest watch as Kumi wonders about Zen's words about warding names. Romana explains that children were given silly names so as to ward off being spirited away or dying early. Eventually, Babin himself fights Jiru. Jiru puts up a fight before being defeated. Babin acknowledges his strength and the crowd cheers. Later, everybody celebrates, and it seems that the match wasn't a fight to the death. Jiru thought the mountain dwellers had a grudge against him since he killed many of them in his heyday. Babin notes that it is their way for the warrior to live and die. Then the topic shifts to Jiru having a mate. Despite the odd topic, Babin's point is that whether or not Jiru marries, he should leave his seed behind, and his child will be the next strongest mountain dweller. Party time is over when a giant beast is spotted. However, the mountain dwellers usher it in to let some of their warriors fight. Melon tries to prove himself by going first, but he can't do anything, so he goes back. Another warrior steps in to fight. But when its eyes turn red, it's time for Babin, who is also a paladin who fuses with his cleric, to jump in. Jiru and Kumi help too. The giant beast is defeated, and the next day, the queen upgrades the name of the brave warrior who dealt the finishing blow. Meanwhile, a couple of antagonists are the ones releasing the giant beast as a test. However, they note that their target is a certain village. Zen heard this and attacked them. Zen fights Facade and tries to get information about whether he is working under Mazami, but he does not give answers. In the end, Zen realizes he can't defeat him and makes his escape. Meanwhile, Mazami talks to Bakla about some troublesome people snooping around, saying he will eliminate them. But Bakla says this is all a game between himself and Tsurugi, so they have to be considerate with each other since Tsurugi's goal is to expose him. Bakla also notes Facade, who is Mazami's pawn. All he needs to do is keep running away from Zen. As for the runaway prototype, Mazami assures that she poses no danger. After all, such prototypes cannot live long outside the lab. While eliminating them would be going too far, Bakla has a better idea, and that involves showing them who's boss. Jiru trains Melon as a warrior. He still has a long way to go. During lunch, Babin's wife talks about a legend about giant beasts who are believed to come from those dwelling in the north. Red eyes were unheard of until recently. Kumi thinks it is her fault that those red eyes appeared. Jiru notes the coincidence, but also believes that without her, things might have gotten worse. That doesn't sound convincing enough for Kumi to alleviate her worries. As Jiru plans to track the source of those red eyes, Babin suggests some stone outposts where he could spot them easier. Upon reaching it, there is one giant beast engaging with the mountain dwellers. Melon rushes in to fight, but once more, he realizes he isn't strong enough and chickens out. Meanwhile, the rest of Jiru's group heads up the mountains and sees the perpetrator, whom he believes is behind this. But to Jiru's shock, it is Facade, and he was his partner. Apparently Facade doesn't remember him, and he hates paladins, so the two of them fight. When Facade is weakened, his assistant takes over. She looks like Kumi. This shock makes Kumi unable to focus and fight, as the clone calls her a failed product. She gets agitated when Kumi claims they are the same as she unleashes some dark power, telling her to go die. Then Babin clobbers her to let them escape. Babin and his warriors fight Facade, but too bad, they all get defeated. Kumi continues to be in shock over her clone's words. Everybody is so depressed, and punishment for that is for the lightning to strike their ship, causing it to crash. They can't fix it in the storm, and they have to wait for it to pass. However, this place seems to bring back some memories for Jiru. On day 1, the ship is up and running, and they make their way to the next village, which is of the Horn people. Because of Jiru's troubled exterior, Ramana can pretty much tell that a woman is involved. Arriving at the village, the Horn people welcome them. Jiru apologizes to the chief Goza for not coming back sooner. Goza is his father-in-law, and he explains that Jiru was married to his daughter Talca. He believed Jiru didn't come back because he was mourning her death, and especially the curse of the paladin. Talca was also his cleric, and doing so requires a paladin to lose a chunk of their partner's memories when they die. Goza advises Kumi to visit Talca's grave to clear whatever is on her mind. Jiru is at Talca's grave. A flashback shows that they met 8 years ago. Jiru was having a hard time killing a giant beast when Talca helped him. As an artist, she likes to draw stuff. Jiru suggested they travel together since he will get to hone his skills further, and she will get to draw. They fell in love, and Jiru was fumbling over his proposal to marry her. Meanwhile, Tsurugi talks to the Emperor about Bakla misusing his powers to massacre the orcs. However, the Emperor says to let him be. Tsurugi is to concentrate on her mission to find a ring that is supposedly in the hands of her former partner. Jiru continues his story with Talca. As a paladin, he must serve the Empire, and that means being brought to the front lines of many wars. His group included Facade and Tsurugi. Tsurugi was on this mission to fast-track her promotion, but soon received orders to pull out. Then, one fateful day, they were faced with giant beasts that could talk and shoot beams. Talca sacrificed herself to let Jiru live. Now Jiru has Kumi to thank, and because of her, he is freed from the curse. He says he knows about the lab. Kumi makes the decision to save her clone and others like her. That might have to wait, as Facade is releasing giant beasts to attack the village. Meanwhile, Mazami has plans to dispose of Facade if he regains his memories. He also has several Kumi clones ready to be dispatched. In a flashback 7 years ago, Mazami and his team of researchers were trying to create these Kumi clones as a means of taking back the land from those giant beasts. Many of those clones were subjected to lots of inhumane torture, and many died. Bakla has a subordinate observe Mazami's research, and he is not amused by what he sees. He will report to Bakla what he sees. Many years later, we now have subject #22 Kumi, another one of those mindless clones void of feelings. She is then made to fight to the death with #23, who does not hesitate to kill a confused and reluctant Kumi. That fear of death made Kumi unleash something powerful to kill her opponent. Back in her cell, one of the sympathetic researchers, Zeke, decides he can't stand this anymore and takes Kumi to escape. However, he was caught and killed while Kumi was brought back to her cell. There, she reflected on Zeke's words to find the light, and just like that, she escaped. Now we see Bakla facing the Emperor, who is not impressed with his greed. Despite Bakla showering him with assurances and praise, the Emperor brushes his platitudes, knows he has a hidden agenda, and wants to know his next step. About eradicating the giant beasts without using the army, and that is a paladin who can operate without a cleric. The Emperor is still not impressed because there is a threat from these artificial paladins. One mistake, and everyone will be united against them. Kyumi leads her clone away to a field to face her. However, this is not to fight her, but to save her. The clone gets scared the more Kyumi approaches her because her dark orbs aren't doing jack to her. And with this big hug, the clone shows the world what Kyumi has experienced. Meanwhile, Facade is cornered when Zen joins in the fight. Since they are familiar with his fighting style, Facade is at a disadvantage. Just when Kyumi's clone is about to believe in her, suddenly a barrier covers her. A vision of Mizami telling her she has nothing. This causes her to glow, and then there is an explosion. This diversion allows Facade to escape. Kyumi laments that she couldn't enjoy the outside world like she did. Kyumi is having nightmares as her clone accuses her of running away and blaming her for all this, and Jiro and Romana are taking turns looking after her. This is a cue for Romana's flashback from 3 years ago, when she was treating wounded soldiers in some battle. Many died, even those who were being in the midst of being treated. There was a rude soldier who wanted Romana to treat his injuries first and didn't give a hoot about his injured cleric. He argued that there were many replacements. Soon he returned to the battlefield, and Romana wanted to treat his cleric, but he slapped her instead. Sadly, later, she found cleric's corpse on the battlefield. Once Kyumi as well, she tells the rest of her origins from that lab, making her take drugs every day and fight other clones to death. Jiro continues this explanation by saying that the Empire is doing such experiments so they have human weapons in place of soldiers or paladins. With brainwashed clerics not fearing death, they can explode themselves and destroy an entire city. Kyumi wants to go save them. However, now they face an obstacle. Goza and his men have seen the vast crater left behind by Kyumi and can't let this go, so they're locked in. Meanwhile, Maya is having a discussion with her other fellow chapeau about the ring as well as their next move. Romana manages to pick the lock and let her crew escape. Goza expects this and will not let them go. Then Zen drops in, and since he doesn't want to let all this out, he intends to kill everybody in this village. Worst timing for Kyumi as her power starts acting up. Romana braves up to tell the old geezer that even if he kills everyone, this event will still be known because their cat chapeau has not returned. Just like that, Zen gives up playing the bad guy. They discuss their next move, and part of it is to warn other tribes and villages about this. Jiro and others soon leave, and conveniently, they just need to head in this direction straight to reach the Empire. Meanwhile, Tsurugi meets the Protector tribe and reminds them of their pact to serve them. The Jiro team has come up with a new nickname for Kyumi after watching her grow, Kyumi the Blooming Flower. Buckla doesn't trust Mizami, but needs him to finish his research. He also knows Mizami is a sharp guy and will know if he is being backstabbed, and that's why he is hesitant to make any moves to get rid of him. Jiro's team is at the facility. Their plan is simple: knock those Kyumi clones out and take them back to their ship. Figure out how to undo the brainwashing later. Kiris and Gun's peaceful day is ruined when they see Jiro here. He beats up all the guards easily. Kiris and Gun then surrender, and they make the wisest move by running away. As Jiro heads in, he faces off with Facade. Jiro tries to remind him of his goal to avoid clerics becoming victims of war, but apparently he still can't remember. Facade then unleashes his new technique of cloning himself, but his core is easily destroyed by Jiro. Then he gets weaker, as he soon starts to remember a certain woman in his life. Facade returns to Mizami and wants answers, but Mizami's eyes turn red and he grabs her neck. We see our heroes knocking out a Kyumi clone and Romana placing some herbs to make her sleep, and they transport them out. They see a room filled with raging Kyumi clones, but something activates and knocks them out. Jiro and Kyumi advance to a room where they see not only Mizami, but that giant humanoid beast. Mizami claims Kyumi is the perfect weapon who will join him by his side in ruling over inferior species. He reveals the truth he unearthed in these ruins, how the gods created humans in their image as servants. Humans got cocky and thought they were equals, and hence Mizami will hand humans that judgment. Now Mizami turns into that discount giant humanoid beast. Jiro is no match, as Mizami separates Kyumi from him. He wants Kyumi to join him, and he'll spare Jiro's life, but she refused. Because he badmouths her name, Kyumi activates the giant humanoid beast and devours Mizami. The place is starting to collapse, so they start to run outside. Outside, Tsurugi has brought the Protector tribe, led by Cryonis, here. They're conveniently here to help purify the clerics. Tsurugi has also arranged for Jiru and others to have new identities once the war is over. But until then, they have to help them out. Cryonis explains that, as per the legend, when Ars reaches its peak, the gods will arrive and steal everything. Those red-eyed beasts are the indicators and serve as vanguards, destroying the world. To prevent that is why the Protector tribe is here to conduct rituals. A more pressing issue as Kumi collapses and is bleeding. Protector tribe's medicine helps soothe her situation, but as the Tsurugi talks to Jiru about this, she tells the cruel truth. Kumi has not much time to live. Even with the Protector tribe's powers to suppress that, the most she can live up to is 1 year. Jiru is in despair because she's still a kid who has yet to experience the world. She just saved the world, and this is the reward she gets. Jiru is truly in despair because he is agonizing over how to break this news to her. Kumi talks to Jiru and knows something is wrong with her lifespan. Jiru denies it at first, but after tricking him, it looks like he has to spill the beans. To Jiru's surprise, she isn't mad or sad, but rather thankful because she got to experience so many things on this journey. Jiru and others are taken to the underground base of the Protector tribe. Tsurugi has Cryonis examine Kumi's ring as he confirms it is the Ring of Promise. Though he is unsure how it ended up in her hands, while the ritual is being prepared, Kumi joins the people in their own local festivities. Before the ritual starts, Cryonis tells Kumi the truth. She is taken to a place where there are multiple pods. Cryonis explains that since their people cannot naturally procreate despite their long lives, this is how they are actually born. Mazami tried to abuse such devices and technology for his own use. Therefore, they consider Kumi one of their children. The ritual starts, and Kumi dresses like a bride. They put her hands on a black ball thingy, while giant beasts decided to attack the place in hordes. Red Eyes too. Jiru goes to help, and Kumi sees him running off, gets worried, and wants to go. She is told not to take her hands off, or it will disrupt the ritual and shorten her life. However, she doesn't care. If everyone dies, she'll end up lonely again, and that's no saying. She'd rather die early and let everyone live. The fellow Chapeau people are starting their own agenda too. Jiru has a hard time tackling a giant beast, and he is not too pleased that Kumi is here. Jiru calls her a child, she snaps back at him and says that he too is a child because he always gets his ass kicked by these giant beasts. They continue arguing, and a giant more beast appears. But more bad timing, as Facade is here to seek revenge on Mazami for toying with him. Jiru and Kumi put aside their differences as they transform to put a stop to this madness. Everybody all over the world is fighting giant beasts with red eyes that are rampaging. There is no end to it because there is this really huge, giant robotic beast that is creating more of them. Tsurugi needs Jiru to take care of this, but he has his hands full with Facade. Jiru destroys an interrupting giant beast. This makes Facade believe he is Mazami's student. He is now more determined to kill him. Too bad Zen is here to take on him and give him new memories. With Jiru and Kumi exhausted, here comes Kumi to feed them some food to get them back on their feet. Then she shows off that she is a paladin by shooting a dark orb. She tells them to go ahead while she takes care of things here. But after they leave, she collapses. Bakla is close to uncovering some secret when Tsurugi's aide kills him off. Meanwhile, Romana is having her hands full in the operating room while Melon is saving lost kids, but also trying to find Maya. Zen is being cornered by Facade. To end this, he lets himself get stabbed, and then, with this close proximity, destroys the core in his chest. Tsurugi gives the ring to Melon to be given to its owner. Then she goes off as a paladin to strut her stuff. Maya shows up and picks up Melon in her ship. Jiru and Kumi are already exhausted from fighting the giant beasts, and they have to keep going to destroy this giant factory beast. The big red core is so easy to hit, but because they're so puny, it has no effect. Maya show up and take them away. In another dimension, Maya, in her true grown-up form, tells them that being a paladin isn't enough to defeat these giant beasts. The fight against Mazami should have made that clear. An extra oomph in the form of the ring is needed. Since Kumi has proven to be its true legitimate owner, it is time to end all this. She puts it on, turns into a giant version of herself, and uses this ring weapon to easily destroy the giant beast. Melon tries to hit on this sexy Maya, but realizes too late who she is. With everybody celebrating their survival, it's not over yet because some monolith pops up all over the place. Cryonis says the real moment of judgment is here. Thank you for watching till the end, and don't forget to subscribe.